Hello, everyone, and welcome to my second Facebook Live stream. Today, I thought it'd be fun to do a kind of reaction video to one of my own tracks, which is Saturn Returns. So it's the title track of the album that I released before Christmas. I'm currently in my studio, but you can't really see that. I'm under some pretty harsh lights, which I think are aging me by about 5 years. So if you can just adjust your vision to knock 5 years off, that's about right. But it's going to sound awesome in here because I've got my monitors. Let me see if I can move the camera quickly just so you can see it. It's all plugged into things. So there you go. Here's one of my monitors. So it's going to sound cool here. So as you're listening along with me, hopefully you're going to listen on something good as well. So like I said, the track is Saturn Returns. It's the title of the album as well. And I don't really want to talk about kind of the subject of it really, because I think that when the writer talks about the subject, it kind of limits it. You can put your imagination on it and interpret things how you want. If I put my interpretation on it, then it limits you, because you're just probably going to think that's the only thing it's about. But just to say broadly, the album is based on the astrological idea of Saturn Returns, which I talked about in the last video, which is essentially that there's a time of change in your late 20s and early 60s, and I was going through that period when I wrote a lot of this material. So yeah, that's the background. Let's listen to the beginning of this song, and then I shall react. I'm just going to change the camera view, and we'll get going. There we go. So I should be all small now. That's good. All right. So let's listen to the beginning, and I'll stop and chime in when appropriate. Okay, so first of all, we're like getting caught in this kind of sound of wind and kind of like you're in a storm or something. And I really love the kind of chaotic feel of it. And that is actually a sample from NASA that they created from, by converting the electromagnetic waves of Saturn into sound. So I was like so happy to find that sample. And it sums up the feeling of the song essentially. There's kind of chaos, you're caught in some sort of storm. And then as you can hear there's just something poking through, which you'll hear in a minute what that's going to be, but something a bit more orderly starts to appear. I was thinking a while back that, having these samples collected by NASA probably makes this one of the most expensive tunes ever made if you included, all the costs of sending some probe out to Saturn, even though this album was definitely cheap compared to your average kind of big studio production. Definitely not cheap in terms of my time and commitment and things like that, but in terms of that. So let's move on to the next bit, and we're going to hear something poking through just a little bit. I'll just forward it a little bit on from there. Yep, so there you can hear it. The piano's come through, and it was really my plan just to have it, you'd start to just notice this little thing kind of happening, and then you start to be able to make out what it actually is, which is piano. And as I said in the last video, I'm not massively a pianist. It's kind of like I understand how to do it because I know how to play guitar, and bass and sing and things like that. So I understand the theory. And what happened with this was I had originally recorded the piano on a beautiful Steinway piano in Highgate, and I'd got a friend of mine called Luca, he's a fantastic pianist, to do it several years ago, in fact. But I unfortunately lost it, a hard drive error, and Luca wasn't able to come back to record it. And I had some versions of it, but they all had things like click tracks and other instruments kind of mixed in with it. So I'd lost that one, and it was about 2 or 3 weeks before I had a recording session booked, and because just to remind anyone who hasn't seen the last video, I recorded a lot at my studio here, which is available to me pretty much all the time. But I did a lot of the recording at an amazing studio called Real World Studios in Bath. So that was over 2 days, and it meant there was a deadline. So I didn't really feel like trying to find a pianist because you could probably pay someone a lot of money. It doesn't mean they're going to give you the right feel. And I had a lot on my plate, so I was just like, I'd rather just do it myself because I sort of play a bit. So I really practiced that super hard for 2 or 3 weeks. So let's have a little listen to the piano, and then I'll talk a bit more about that. So swap the camera over again. Let's have a listen to that. So just going to stop it there before the vocal comes in. So yeah, you can hear there's a bit of piano there, and like I said, I don't really play piano, but what I did was before I started guitar, aged about 13 or something. As a kid, I used to muck around on our piano at home. We were lucky enough to have a piano, and I just used to make up tunes all the time. But I didn't really have any idea of how to make up a song or anything, and I didn't know how to play it. I just liked mucking around on the piano. So I was really happy to be able to actually just play a bit of piano. So it was kind of a happy accident that I managed to mess up and accidentally wipe the last guy's efforts, which would have certainly sounded amazing, but it was just good to be able to get that out there. So let's go on to the next bit. Vocal's going to come in now, so check this out. Think again about where you're going. Think again about just where you've been. Take a look at all that surrounds you. Is this where you want it to be? Is this where you want it to be? Yeah, so that's it. Very spacey sound on the vocals there. It's supposed to sound, I suppose the idea is that it's kind of sort of very strong, powerful element that comes in. We've gone from chaos into calm, and then there's some kind of message there, which, like I say, I'll leave for your interpretation about what they're actually out. And I was really glad, I had a version I was happy with, and then at the last few days, I got another guy called Scott Barnett to do some mixing work on it, and he did a great job of adding the right reverb and the kind of delay on there that makes it sound so kind of otherworldly, I suppose. And the other thing that came in there was the bass, and I was really happy with the effect I got there. And overall, I'll say I'm really happy with how this song came out. There were lots of nice surprises. Sometimes you do a song and you're like, well, it's good, but it didn't live up to the potential. Whereas I think actually this song for me came out to be better than I'd hoped actually. And so what I wanted for the bass there is that kind of really gliding feel. It's just moving very sort of smoothly up and down. So that worked pretty nicely. So I think we're about to have some lead guitar. So I'm always happy when the lead guitar comes in. Let's check it out. Got to react to my friend Dee, who's just been told by Facebook to say something, and she did. So, thanks, Dee. That's That's exactly what Facebook wanted, and I'm happy. Yeah, so no guitar came in there. We weren't quite ready for guitar yet, but there was like a little piano solo, and I don't know, it just makes me feel nice, that bit. I went through a phase, well, quite a while ago when I first wrote songs, where I was just like so militant about taking out bits that weren't strictly necessary, and so I think I like. I've come to a place now where I just like a tune sometimes, and why not just have an instrumental bit? And I really like that as it starts to build up the song. All right, so now we're gonna have guitar and drums come in. So check this out. Okay, some of my favourite bits in the song there. I really enjoyed the way that came together. So you can hear there's a few parts. There's like I suppose it's like this sort of Coldplay-esque kind of chiming thing. So let me just play that bit again. Yeah, so that bit there, it's like da 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 da. Which is an element I like to throw in. I suppose it does come from Coldplay. It comes from U2, and there's not like massive influence of them in my music. So I just think it's a nice thing to throw in. The other things that come in there is the drums, and I'm thinking in 3/4 time there, which I quite like. It's just 1 2 3 1 2 3. It's like very very relentless, and that was quite fun to play and work out. And the other thing in here is we've got these sort of country bends. Okay, I think I just lost you there, so I'm just going to pick up where I left, where probably you lost me. So let me know in the comments if this doesn't line up, but hopefully it will. So got to the point of the song where it's like completely kind of done, apart from some kind of lead instrument, and I didn't really know if guitar was going to work in this bit. So I remember this kind of oh yeah, and I was saying I had a deadline as well. I'd set a deadline for release, and I'd select a release party where I'd invite like family, friends, people I teach, just complete mixture of people. And I didn't really feel I could push that date back. And so, yeah, there was a deadline. And it was a great moment because I just started jamming on this track and came up with this idea I absolutely love. And for me, it references lots of interesting things like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and things, the absolute core of things I love. So check out this bit of lead that comes in here. I love it. Yeah, one of my favourite things on this whole album, that I just absolutely love the way the guitar chimes in, the drums kick in properly, bass is nicely synced in, and also the fact it worked where the vocal comes in, because it's like you've got two lead parts, and a lot of the time in music you're swapping. We had a bit of lead vocal, now guitar's going to be lead, or even the bass can be lead, whatever. But here you've got sort of two things being lead instruments, and that was a bit of a step forward in production for me, because it was just interesting, finding ways for how do you make that vocal cut through and have space whilst you still got a bit of lead guitar going on. So let's carry on from there on to the next bit. Okay, so I'm talking a little bit about the drums there. So much work went into the drums for this album, and just little details. It's funny to look at it now about how do people even notice them? I don't know, but I do. And there's a couple of things you can hear. The kind of kick drum in here, it's sort of got a sort of funky edge on it. Again, I was kind of in that sort of Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd kind of idea, inspiration, and you can hear this kind of the ride cymbal, the little cymbal coming through there that's kind of a little bit kind of dotted. It kind of dances around. Have a little listen. Yeah, so that worked out very nicely. By the way, feel free to ask me any questions, or maybe I'm not even making sense here. I don't know. Don't know if this is all too deep on a musical level, but yeah, ask me any questions you want to. Plenty of room in the comments, and I'll try and get back to you. And yeah, so here we go. We've got another bit of kind of question and answer lead going on here. Check it out. So yeah, I remember a moment when I was playing the main lead coming down here. I was just like, it feels like me. I know it might be going a little bit out there, but I was just like, yeah, I love playing this. It feels like an exact expression of me. And then when I heard it back, I was like, sounds great, but it needs those little answers, and that was really fun. I think that was mainly just improvised, but there's some funny timing things in there, which is the culmination of some work. Really, just learning Peter Green, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, and Dave Gilmour, and also the guy from Free, whose name I've forgotten. There's a few licks I got from him with a bit of Brian May thrown in too. None of them are like directly nicked. It's just when you start playing enough of a guitarist's stuff, it just sinks into you somehow, and hopefully comes out digested. The way I think of it, it's like when you were at school and you had to write essays. If you nick from one place, you're stealing. If you nick from two, it's kind of still stealing. 3, it's getting a bit better. 4 or 5, and then you mix it all together and it comes out your own kind of interpretation. So yeah, that's what I mean by that. And one of my favourite bits of playing, and the whole album's coming up here, so let's check that out. That little lick there is one of my favourite things I've played in a long time, and it's not sort of that it's anything sort of the most special thing in the world or anything. It's that it reminds me of how I used to play when I was a teenager. It's very expressive. It's kind of, it's a bit of a rude bit of guitar somehow that maybe I haven't always done over the years. So I absolutely love it. And just to say, I'm not speaking from an arrogant point of view, so I hope that doesn't come across. It's really just, if you've seen Back to the Future, and there's that moment where Doc Brown's time machine actually works after all his years of experimenting, something actually worked. It's kind of coming from there, so yeah, it gives me some joy. It's good. So let's carry on through. So there's another moment in this song that I'm really happy worked, is you can kind of hear everything's coming there. We've got a lot more lead guitar. It's kind of more relentless. It's just, rather than sort of smooth bends, it's just just like absolutely relentless. And again, I was really happy that when the vocal comes in, you can hear it clearly, which, as a listener, you probably just you take for granted. But when you're mixing things, and I did a lot of the mixing on this album, that's really your challenge, is how do you ensure that the listener hears kind of every little aspect of it. And I think more important than that is transmitting the feeling of the song, and a certain amount of the feeling I had when I was playing it as well. So we're just going to come into our little outro now, so let's check it out. Another bit of lead that I absolutely loved was that little bit at the end, where it just kind of, to me, it sort of leaves it like a question. You kind of, finish the bit, but there's like a little bit more kind of stuck on the end, and yeah, I like that. So let's have a listen to our outro. So there we go. We've got that piano outro, which is again just kind of the same as the intro, and then it disappears off into the sounds of Saturn again, which I really love. The idea this whole thing was just a little interlude, a little kind of moment of clarity amongst the kind of chaos of those sounds. Yeah, so that's it really. Like I said, I think any song is kind of an experiment, however experienced you are, and this one definitely had lots of moments of experimentation, and I'm really happy with how this one came out. It was pretty challenging to kind of get that stuff together in places, so yeah, I'm happy with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little listen. I hope you enjoyed the actual song. I did put some links underneath, but you can buy a copy of the album from my website, and that's where you'll get the best quality one as well, rather than, you can get MP3 and things on the website as well, but you can get the higher quality files on there. So if you're going to play it on a nice stereo, it's really worth getting those. You can also get it on the iTunes store, Amazon, just basically any shop you can imagine online, and you can listen on Spotify as well. If you want to support me, please click like, and thank you very much for listening. And definitely do try and have a listen to the actual song without me interrupting it all the time, and hopefully enjoy it. And thanks a lot, guys. I'll catch you again soon.